So, what's your name and where do you come from?
I'm Brian Greenstone. I'm here in Austin, Texas, and president of Pangea Software.
Tell me a bit about Pangea. What's the background?
Well, Pangea Software got started when I was in college, and that was back in 1986. So we've been, no, 87. So we've been around for 21 years, I think, something like that. And we traditionally do Mac games, and up until a year ago, pretty much this week, we've been doing iPhone apps ever since.
Really?
Yeah.
Just a year ago, and you picked up and you decided that you would go forward and do only iPhone games.
That wasn't the plan. That's just how it turned out. The iPhone SDK came out, and we're going to do some apps for fun. Next thing you know, these apps are selling. They're making the Mac stuff look like a joke. I mean, the Mac stuff, that's like lunch money now compared to what the iPhone does. So there's basically no point in going back to the iPhone. Back to the Mac. It's all the iPhone. It's a more entertaining platform to develop for, and it makes 50 times as much money as the Mac.
That's the death knell for Mac gamers. As a
Yeah.
Mac owner, I have been searching desperately for games that I can play on the Mac. So
there's been a lot of talk about that amongst the Mac game community. Luckily, I think a lot of the Mac game developers didn't have the success I had. So they're doing iPhone apps as side projects, but they're still doing Mac games. So hopefully, we won't see the Mac game, pool dry up. But certainly, a lot of the same people are working on iPhone apps.
well, let's quickly talk about the iPhone apps. Tell me about your most successful iPhone app.
Well, Enigmo, definitely the most successful. That one got a lot of love from Apple, and spent 3 weeks at the #1 spot, and it has basically been in the top 20 almost the whole time. It only recently started falling off, mainly because we've sold so many copies, there's nobody left to buy it. We've sold over 800, whatever it was, 810,000 and going copies. The sell-through rate makes it 4 or 5%, and 4 or 5% is about double what any really big hit game would normally do on any platform. So we have completely saturated the market. So we're finally starting to see our ranking drop. But that game has done really well. It's made us over $1.5 million for something that we just did for fun.
Now you were talking, we just came out of a panel, and the panel you gave some statistics, and you said, how long did it take to build?
Well, the original Enigmo, back 5 years ago, took, I want to say 6 weeks. To port it over to the Mac, it took 2 weeks. So, I'm not to the Mac, port it to the iPhone, it took 2 weeks.
And what was the cost?
Zero. It was just my time to do the code and about literally a couple of hours of time of the artist to redo some models, so nothing.
Zero.
Zero, not a penny.
Money.
Cost $100 to get into the developer program, and I guess I had to buy an iPod, actually I didn't even start with the iPhone, I started with an iPod, what was that, $200, $300, I forget, so it was a few $100s in material costs to get into the program, but the actual development costs were zero.
And let's quickly review how much you made on that.
1.5 million and counting.
No, obviously this is a rarity. You guys were preferred. You were launched with the iPhone, weren't you?
Yeah, we were at the Steve Jobs keynote. We got great publicity from that. We were out day one. We were at the top of the list. We got a lot of love from Apple, and so that doesn't happen to everybody. Other apps have made more than us, but a lot of those apps also got a lot of love from Apple. But even some apps that didn't get a lot of love made a ton of money. It's just a matter of having the right thing at the right time, and we had the right thing at the right time with Apple's help.
And the iPhone is a gaming platform. Talk me through that. What are your feelings on that?
It's really good. The only flaw is the lack of buttons. It makes doing a lot. What we're known for generally are action adventure games, so your Mario type things. And we've done a lot of them. We've done, what have we done? We've ported 3 of them over to the iPhone, Bugdom 2, Nanosaur 2, and Automatic. And they all pretty much require a gamepad or something to press buttons to make your character move. So we've had to try different schemes, and it's been difficult. That's the one flaw. Other than that, it's got the horsepower, it's got the memory, it's got the graphics, the sound, and it's certainly got the installed base. It's a real game platform. It just lacks buttons.
Just those little niggly things,
Yeah.
but it's got great things like tilt and all that kind of stuff.
So you can do certain games that work really well. That's the other reason Enigmo did so well. Enigmo doesn't need buttons. Enigmo was a touch and drag and drop kind of game. So it did very, very well. The second game that was our #2 hit was Chromac Rally. It was a driving game. You don't really need buttons for that because you're just rotating the phone like a steering wheel. We have a couple of virtual buttons on the screen for the gas pedal and the brakes. But basically, those kinds of games work great. Other games work fantastic with the touch interface and the tilt. but so many types of games are just impossible without physical buttons. I need a game. I need a D-pad. I need my ABCD buttons. I need my little finger buttons. You know, it's just hard to do.
So what are the top 2 things you would suggest to anybody who wants to create a game for the iPhone and achieve your immense success?
You have to. Well, execution has to be good. It's got to look good. I've seen I'm going to say about a third of the games that come out are obviously just ports of web apps, and they look like web apps. Those never do well. I've never seen a web app make it into the top 50. I think I may have seen 1 or 2 just peep into the top 100 every now and then, you know, but then they fall away. Web apps do not port web apps. Come up with a good app, design it around the iPhone, make it look good, get an artist to do real art, not web app art, because you don't need to have itty-bitty low-res sprites anymore. You can do high-res stuff. It's a phone. It's got a lot of RAM on it. That, and don't spend a lot of money, because great apps can still tank, yet horrible apps can make you $1 million. There's a lot of randomness. Just come up with something good. Be careful about what you invest in it, and see what happens.
And the best way to distribute it, the best way to get your product out there and onto all those, you know, millions and zillions of iPhones?
The best way is to get yourself into the top 100 list. And once you're in the top 100 list, it's self-perpetuating. You're seen by everybody. But to get into the top 100, you either have to have an app that everybody just jumps on, and it becomes a viral thing and everybody's talking about it, or you know, need to go out there and push it yourself. YouTube videos, send out press releases to everybody in the media that you can think of that will talk about it, and just get the buzz going. And if enough people buy it, and generally to get into the top 100, you have to sell over 1,000. Well, it used to be you only had to sell about 500 a day, but it's gotten more crowded. You now have to sell about 1,200 or 1,500 copies a day to get into the top 100 list. It's pretty tough to do.
Really competitive market now.
Yeah.
Okay, so your last thing, what are you working on at the minute? Because I know there's going to be a heck of a lot of people out there who are looking for the next.
Well, we just shipped Automatic, which was the last game last week, so nothing. I'm actually taking some time off, had to come here and do this thing today, so we're gonna, we've got a list of ideas that we're narrowing down and refining, and so we don't actually know yet, but we've got ideas, so if anybody has suggestions of what they'd like to see, they can email me.
Excellent. What's that email address?
Brian@pangeasoft.net.
There you go. Brilliant. Well, thank you very much, Brian.
Thank you.